maybe getting a little tired. I don't think I replaced any tubes in this thing since I got it. Yeah. Yep. Well, yeah, that's a strange one with a Ranger. I wonder if the mod transformer broke down primary to secondary, and you went to the low power mode, you'd be jamming high voltage into the low voltage power supply. It's almost as though something broke down, and you mentioned the blown apart grid resistor or meter shunt. I'm wondering if the phenolic wafer cell switch broke down because the grid position and the plate position are side by each. I think you said that you replaced that switch. Yep. Well, yeah. Well, I don't know what to tell you. It's probably hopefully something stupid. And if the mod transformer has an issue, there's a lot better pieces of iron that could be fitted in there. Never mind trying to find a replacement transformer.
Nah, man, piece of cake. I mean, I don't know the rig, and I'm not real good at word problems. You know, I'd much rather see an equation, right, to solve than have it, you know. If Jack has 6 apples and Mary has 12 bananas, and that kind of thing. So it's hard for me to pick up exactly what you're talking about. But if I can see a schematic, I can troubleshoot it. Guaranteed. I was having fun with it. Matter of fact, Charlie turned me on to a website here where you can get schematics for old rigs and stuff. And I'm looking at a T76 here. I've been having a lot of fun trying to troubleshoot that. So, if you want me to help you out, man, just let me know. You hear that? That's 3 sheets of printer paper, carefully cut and pasted so I can see the entire radio on one sheet of paper. But yeah, fix that sucker, man.
Yep. Well, I'm hearing a slump bucketeer that's on your frequencies. It would help if you all moved down just a couple hundred hertz, because instead of hearing a voice that's underneath, you know, begins to sound like mush, and the brain separates it more easily. Yeah, well, a mud transformer with shorter turns, it wouldn't matter if you were at full strap or reduced power. Maybe at reduced power it would work a little bit better, but the question is, when you're in the low power mode, the modulator plate control should barely wiggle. I mean, just barely wiggle, assuming that you've biased them to idle at, say, 60 or 70 mils. Because the modulator is pretty much in say at that point. But if it's kicking up a good bit to do with the deal, then the mud transformer is definitely toast. Okay, looking at modulator plate comfort. Under modulation at full power, if you're idling at 55 mils or whatever, the meter should probably kick to no more than 100 mils. No more than 100 mils, usually hang around 70 to 80 mils for the average human speech. Whereas in the low power mode, the meter should barely move at all under modulation when making 100%. Yep. Yeah, well, you'll just have to revisit it. And the acoustical thing, yeah, it sounds to me like, that talkback would be coming from the mod transformer. That's the only thing that would make noise. The tubes wouldn't make any noise. Your mod transformer may be toast.
And the W2JBL transmitter that drove me out of my mind.
Hi there, Chris. This is W81H and YLR. You hearing me?
I hear you fine, although 3875 would be a better choice. The slot bucketeers are down on 70.
Yeah, the band has gone on. I decided to put the array on. I'll be down to 160 here in a little bit. You think you might go down?
Yeah, it's a good possibility. Now I hear some other slot bucketeer dead zero beat to you. Yeah, I can make the scene down there. But, Perry, that Ranger that I got, I noticed the mod transformers tilts back a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with it. I don't know. I'm sorry to hear you're having so much trouble with that. I'm on my Collins 32V, which I thought I had fixed, but I didn't. And about 30 hours worth of labor later, I finally think I nailed the problem.
W3MMR esteemed group. A nice one, Tim. I heard that. Yeah, this is KM4XG. Hello, Chris. How you doing? A light copy right now, but I hear you flying Q5, and Tim, I think you sound better on this room. I really do. I mean, that's a big improvement. I mean, the signal's down a little bit, but the audio sounds much better, I think. So there you go. For what it's worth. And it looks like I just found the schematic for your Ranger here on the same site that Charlie turned me on to. He's still in here too, I think. So I'm going to look this over here, and maybe I'll get some questions for you a little bit later. Go ahead and pick it up, Perry. I'm going to look at this for a little bit. I've been having fun here troubleshooting Charlie's Tonsa G76. I mean, this is what I used to do for a living. You know, I kind of miss it, you know, solving problems like this. So, having fun here. I'm going to study this radio. Go ahead, Perry. And, yeah, I think Charlie's still in here, too. And again, good evening, Chris. Nice to hear you again. KM4XG, go ahead, Perry.
That's why I was sitting quiet. I couldn't get them. Yeah. Is he in there? Anyway, I heard Chris a little low, but he was in my radio. Of course, I have to keep things necessary because you're so strong over there, and in order not to bust us, come back on, I have to keep things keyed down a little bit. Anyway, I lowered the map. Okay, Perry. Yeah, you're doing well. Jim, your signal has come up quite a bit. There is an annoying slop bucket station in there, and Chris's signal is way down, which is uncharacteristic. It just means the band is trying to go along. And Jim, as far as this thing sounding better than what I was on, I don't think so. I'm just using a D104 microphonium, a much modified, the 2-transistor preamp in the base of the D104. I went to a JFET and a 22 megohm gate resistor because a high impedance piezoelectric microphonium, doesn't matter what the brand is, wants to look into an almost infinite impedance if you're going to get the best low-end response out of it. But the D104 has got a natural upper mid-range into the bottom end of the high-end response rising characteristic just due to the mechanical resonance of the diaphragm. So it's not a flat response microphonium, but it's just a solution for something if you're not using a wide range microphonium with flat response. And in that case, it's important to use a multi-band graphic equalizer to shape the audio to get the punch and all that. Whereas with the other setup, the Globe Scout Deluxe, just in name it's a Globe Scout Deluxe. But I made a lot of changes to it. The modulator in that thing is flat from 20 hertz to about 10 kilohertz, and it does noticeably over 100% positive. It's a single-ended AB1 modulator, and you know, driving a Tempo 2000 linear. So you're probably just seeing the difference in power. I don't know what the audio response of this transmitter is. I designed it and built it back in '68, the first iteration of it, and it's had a number of changes, and I traded it off to a buddy of mine back in the early 80s, and he had it for quite a while, and he needed money because he went through divorce, and he sold it off, and then it went through maybe 1 to 2 hands, and the guy hardly used it. Eventually, I got it back about 3 years ago, and spent a lot of time undoing a few things, or fixing a number of things and bringing it up to better standards. But it's strictly crapstal control, has a VXO so I can rubber the crapstal around. 3 bands, 80, 40, 20. And it delivers a 1/4 kilowatt out, single 4-250 modulated by a pair of 811s. Very simple circuitry. Yeah, I heard you and Charlie on there early this morning. I didn't feel like getting on. I just felt like being a fly on the radio outhouse wall. I did not feel like participating. Usually the band conditions are long haul, and I can't hear Charlie at night, yet I was hearing him in there at the time. That's one thing, you know, as far as schematics, I heard the whole conversation. I fell asleep at the operating position later on. Is that you can look at the schematics of these things, but fact of the matter is a lot of them had issues in their design, and you may be able to track down a problem, but you're not going to make it sound any better. The G76 sounds like unmitigated dog shit because of the very pinched, narrow audio response. But I've worked on G76s about the time I built this transmitter. A buddy of mine who's been long dead had a G76, and I got into it, started fattening up coupling caps and other things, and got it sounding noticeably better. But there's a lot of interacting circuitry that when you do that, you know, it'll cause other issues to crop up. But many years ago, I got a G76 of my own, a very clean one, and I really went nuts with the thing and resolved all the little problems. And in that regard, you got it working very, very well. It's cosmetically very clean. I got the AC supply, and I got the DC supply. It was Mobile, and my famed 2 Pintos, the $25 fungus green Pinto, and the famous Pinto Valdez. So with all the changes I did, Mobile, it was great, very handy to have. But the transmitter VFO drifts like a son bitch, and the receiver does tend to drift as well. Well, you can play around with the receiver bandwidth by changing the resistors that shunt the IF cans, being that it's double conversion, and the second conversion IF is 262 kilohertz. So you can remove the swamping resistors and narrow it up to about 3 kilohertz and make it ridiculously narrow. I like a wide receiver. So there you go. Well, needless to say, I pulled the G76 out of the Pinto Valdez because I had retired it from service until I could replace the water pump and do a little bit of body work on it, and it would have gone right back on the road. But then in '92, the fire happened, and I had pulled the G76 out of the Pinto Valdez, brought it into my station, set it up, and road tested it on the AC supply and was satisfied, just put it up. Well, the fire destroyed it. So no more G76s. I picked one up from a friend of mine that is missing a few things, and it's like maybe a 6 or 7 on a 10 scale. I like, if I'm going to have a keeper, I like it to be in at least a 9 on a 10 scale as far as the condition. But so much stuff. By getting back to circuitry and designs, it takes a good understanding of hollow state audio circuitry, or audio circuitry in general, and you apply the knowledge to what the manufacturers have done and figure out on how you're going to correct a defective design. That's half the fun. It's like this Globe Scout Deluxe. If you were to hear the thing in stock form and hear it the way what I've done to it, you'd, it's a totally different sounding transmitter, even though externally it looks bare bones stock. So that's the story. So, I don't know how much longer I'm going to stick around here. My wife and I have to get food out of the refrigerator. It's going to get friggin' cold tonight. And don't need stuff freezing up. So, anyway, Perry, on the Ranger, I know I'm making a bit of an old buzzard transmission, but I'm trying to impart knowledge and cover all bases at the same time. The Ranger modulation transformer, as I know I've had this discussion with you, is way undersized for the job that it is asked to do. It is a common failure point in the Ranger, is the modulation transformer. Next to that is the Chernobyl resistor in the VFO. So, in the tests I've run, the Ranger mod transformer goes into core saturation when you pull more than 60 mils through the secondary. But if you set the thing up more or less strictly as an exciter class transmitter, it actually does an exemplary job. But I'm talking a transmitter that makes about 15, maybe 18 watts on a good day. Not the amount of power it was designed to do. It's actually pretty simple. After solid stating the high and low voltage power supply, you disconnect the feed from the high voltage rectifier going to the input of the high voltage filter reactor. And then jumper the input of the high voltage filter reactor directly to that of the low voltage rectifiers. So the low voltage solid state rectifier group feeds both the low voltage and high voltage supplies. So at that point, the metering is fully functional, and everything runs a whole lot cooler. No, it's kind of a waste of the power transformer, but if you wanted to get the thing running at full power, yeah, there's you can complicate things with the switching systems that I've come up with. But by dropping the play voltage on the modulator down to that of what's on the PA, you will, have a good ratio. The mod transformer and the Ranger has got a decent ratio to it. You'll do noticeably over 100% positive. And with the right things done in the audio, as outlined in my Ranger Lite LITE mods, you'll have good response down to about 65 hertz. And, you know, whatever, you know. You have to decide what you want to do with the thing. But one of the very important things that I found out that I did many years ago is you cut a hole right in the middle of the back of the cabinet and install a muffin fan to suck the heat out. You know, like a 240-volt AC muffin fan running at half voltage, or even still, you know, like at least a 3 to 4 inch DC 12-volt DC computer fan in there, and just rectify your 6.3 volt filament with a diode, maybe a 500 or 1,000 might cap the ground, and there's DC source for the fan. You know, I can't stand noisy fans and blowers, but a fan that runs quietly and pulls the air through the cabinet, I know it will pay off big dividends. Thing is, a lot of people will throw a muffin fan right on top to suck the heat out, which does work, but you know, the thing about the perforated metal cabinets of all the Junkston gear, it greatly restricts the natural airflow. So you gotta have a negative pressure so that the incoming air comes through all the pores all the way around. And then you'll wind up with something and you put your hand on it, and it's maybe slightly warmer than ambient room temperature. That's the way I like my gear to run. Now the other thing is I understand that you are breaking the B+ feed with relay contacts when you go into standby, going to everything. That's a big problem. But that's to be discussed at another point in time. Anyway, I've shot my wad. I'll just be listening here. Go ahead there, Chris, if you can hear me. W2JBL from WA1H and LR.
Oh, I hear you fine. The fan's in good shape. I hear everybody. WA1H and LR in good shape. I don't know if I have a whole lot to add to this. I haven't delved that deep into my ranges yet. I will be probably in a few weeks. I'm sorry you all can't hear me. I'm running 100 watts. I'm on my Collins 32V2. Test driving before I hopefully get it back in the cabinet and get it back on the table here in the operating station. So that's it. I'm only running 100 watts. Deal with it. I shouldn't be that different. All right, on the SX99. My least favorite job in radio is dial cord replacement. I'm terrible at it. Gotten better over the years, but I'm terrible at it. And I just absolutely hate the job. It sucks that that happens. SX99, that's got fan spread and main tune, so you have to do it twice. Excuse me, that's only one side of this shit. I'm not going to make a half-hour show. Jesus. The audio reports might be appreciated, although I guess you guys aren't hearing me that well. God, I got a lot of work in this thing. Jesus Christ. Intermittent. It's very, very difficult to run. People in here, but I think I finally have this thing right now. It's going to be reliable, as it has been reliable for the rest of the 50 years that I've owned this. Yeah, Tim, I may go down to 160 later, but, you know, for now I'm here. I'm at 100 watts. I don't want to retune the 4S 1000 to 75. It's down on 160. Tim, actually, I'll impart this on you quickly. The problem with the V2 is hermetically sealed mica cap, tank coil, the tank circuit for the PTO. Bad. Intermittent screen bypass cap and Ridley bypass cap. Big postage stamp size micas. They would heat up and short out. What the hell else? There's a bad screen resistor on I got Gaunt to drive. That I haven't had for years, and I completely rebuilt the PTO. And so far, so good with that. It's pretty stable, and the linearity came back. I have lost its linearity over the years. And now it's calibration is within 2 kc for 3.5 to 4 megahertz. That's not bad for a transmitter that was built in 1950. Where's the score now? I guess I'll say it goes down to you. I got rid of the 4 exploder. It dropped its transmission, thankfully only 2 miles from home. It lost second gear. I was on my way to the Adirondacks, 250 miles. So, Casper Fly's actually gave me $800, $900 for that truck. Because I didn't tell them it had no second gear. And I bought a 2001 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo with my favorite straight six, 355 gears, 200,000 miles. I had some to work into it. But man, what a great truck. I love it. That Explorer sucked. I never liked it. Handled like a garbage truck. 33 MMR in the group, WCJBL.
Yeah, well, you're 2.5 now, Chris.
Here, there we go. Thanks for all the insight, Tim, man. Greatly appreciated. And I guess we'll dive back into it, this weekend. I'm off, what's the calendar say? No, I'm not off Monday, but I'm off Sunday, so that's good. So maybe I'll mess with it on Sunday morning and rip out the mod transformer and throw in another one here that I have, and see what the hell happens, I'm just trying to make it sound good with a D10-4. I just want to run this one with a D104. I have plans for another one that I'm gonna probably heavily modify and externally modulate and do all that crazy stuff too. So, but that's for another time. All right, Tim, I'll let you run. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna go get in the horizontal position in front of the TV. It's been a pleasure hearing you, Chris. Been a long time, man. Great hearing you on again. And I'll be listening on 160. I'll have the receiver set down there, so I'll be listening around. So we'll catch up with you guys later. Down to you, Jim. Tie the ribbons on it. I'll be sitting here listening out for a while. KM4XG in the group W3MMR.
Good evening.
Hello, Shane. Well, see you later, Shane.
Hey, good evening, Shane. I'm 73 Perry. And maybe I'll catch you on 160. I don't know. I found out I sat down and figured out what the frequency I could operate at here on 160 with that short wire out there. 500 feet puts me right about 1980, something like that. So I wonder if you ever operate AM on 1945. I think I can get away with that. So I'm on there a couple nights ago, and it seemed like the band was wide open, but there's nobody using it. I was pulling up different SDRs around the country and could hear myself very well. At 1945, anyway. It's kind of rough down around 85. Antenna just a little bit too short there, Perry. And I'm checking out your schematic here, and I'm in luck because I can print out one page that's got the entire schematic on it, which is nice. They also got some pages where they blow it up, and I could do like I did with Charlie's here and print those out and carefully cut them and paste them together to make one big schematic. That'd be nice. But they do have a smaller version here where they got the whole rig on one page. send this over to my other computer, the one that's connected to the printer here. I've got a printout here. But this is, this looks like a fairly straightforward problem. It's really interesting. You mentioned a couple of things that caught my attention. The increased audio, that you can hear yourself, and that in the transformer ringing, I guess, is what you're talking about. And
then the ICOM.
Before, when you were overdriving the audio, so I'm looking at the audio stages here, seeing what's going on. And the other thing about everything popping and sparking and smoking, and I'd like to hear that story again. Because, Tim may be right on target here. You may have a short in the mod transformer, which would suck. But it sounds like you've already made up your mind to replace it, and you got a part on hand. So, anyway, I'm curious to see how that comes out here, and if I can help you, man. I owe you one. So, if I can help you troubleshoot this thing, just let me know. And, let's see, what else have I got? Oh, yeah, I wanted to mention for everyone on frequency that the lava lamp is on, and the red matter is flowing. I did discover the trouble with the red matter and what is going on, why it was taking so long to get started. And it's been very interesting to watch this thing over the past couple of days. I must have sat there staring dumbfounded at the son of a gun for several hours the other night, trying to figure out what is wrong with my dadgum lava lamp. But I did find the solution, so the emergency's over, everyone can relax. Hey, Chris, I'm hearing you just fine. 100 watts on the 32V2, doing a great job down here in Northern Virginia. So let me send it up to you. W2JBL and the esteemed group.
Yeah, by the way, Chris, you're doing okay, all things considered.
Sorry, Tim, are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. And I'm hearing you okay, Texas, no trouble in that. I'm on the array. I'm going to switch to a more local antenna. How's this? Does the signal go up or down?
It actually went down.
Well, receiving-wise, signal noise ratio is much improved. I'm going to have to go split the antennas with this particular operating position. I got to be getting out of here. My wife and I got to be moving in groceries that are out in the car. It's going to get friggin' cold tonight. And very good on the 32V. I was wondering what the damage report was, but man, you were really into it. And Perry, we'll talk later about Ranger stuff. So I should send you a bunch of photos of what can be done with a Ranger when I get into a heavy-duty modification. My goal is to keep the transmitter looking bare-bones stock from the outside. Front panels off limits as far as drilling any holes or anything like that. The same thing with the top, sides, but the bottom, if you need to, say, have it cut out for a cooling fan or something like that, that's different because you don't see that. Or in the back of the cabinet, if you want to mount additional connectors and things like that. But it's a challenge of fitting much better mod iron, healthier modulator, and all that into the confines of the Ranger, and it's very, very doable. You just wait and bide your time and come up with the right componentry. So I guess you're going into the couch potato mode and high and fine business on the WX, old man. And Chris, maybe I'll see you on 160 later. I'm limiting my my time because there's other things I've been into and doing. Oh, Kiddikins, the cat is here. He was out for a while. It's about 20 some odd degrees and the wind is howling. Cats don't care for it like that, but in this case he goes out. They don't have the memory. I think because he saw my wife go out, he wants to go out. Anyway, see you all later. W2JBL and Jim, as they say, good luck in the contest. This WA1H and y'all are getting out of here.
Oh, Jimmy, I listen to you all the time.
Yeah, well, I was going to go to 160 like in 15, 20 minutes. So I guess we're not going to. I'm not going with you down there. I have other plans going on. Yeah, the repair on the 32V was that was a ballbuster. Oh my God. It was intermittent, it would heat up, slowly move grid drive, and of course in the end 3 different sources for the grid drive, and I've gone through it, taken RF voltage readings and, you know, the voltage and resistance, all the way through that exciter, which is really kind of a nice ass. And it was a very short period of time that it would crap out. Like basically, if you had a key for a couple of minutes and it would crap out, if you unkeyed it and check the screen resistors and stuff, walk around with an ohmmeter for a couple of minutes, key the transmitter up with that grid drive again. And that just absolutely crazy. You know? Worst intermittence I've chased in many years. I'm happy with the results. And when it gets integrated back into the station fully, it starts still on the work part. Now it's more stable. I'll be able to switch it back and forth, drive the Johnson kilowatt with it locally, or drive a 4x1 locally, you know, so on and so forth. I have to find the Ranger in the spot right now. I gotta find someone to put the Ranger. Now looking forward to Ranger mods. One thing I want to do, since I need this Ranger to operate pretty close to full power, 35 kilowatts, I need to get out of it to drive the 4x1 to its full potential. Short feet. I got to come up with a couple of 100-mil chokes or 125-mil chokes to these couple of 8 or 10 entries and find room to shoehorn them into the Ranger so I can do shut feet and monitors to it. Because I can see the wave I'm getting out of it is not, it's not what I should be. Put it that way. It sounds okay. I'm going to take care of that and then we'll do speed space and add a relay to it and turn the whole lot of stuff on. It's fun to work on. God damn it, I'm pumping this around on the cart. This goddamn thing weighs 95 pounds out of its cabinet. I'm flipping the thing around. And I'm working on it. I'm telling you, it's a Ranger. This is a Ranger weighing about 40 pounds. It's small and it's easy to work on. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, yeah, I'll catch you guys later. I'm going to get out of here. Jim, hey, 500 feet of wire on 60 meters. I would think you'd be able to find a way to get that to match the whole band. Jesus, maybe I misunderstood. I think it's 500 feet of wire end fed and the right matching network. It shouldn't be too hard to cobble that up and get that thing to work the whole 160. Yeah, there's nets on 1945. There's the gray-haired net and the AWA net. Wednesday nights, I think they're on. So there's activity. And these guys that hang out on AM on 1945 when there are no nets. Most of it, well, you've been on before, and most of the activity on AM is 1985. And the Midwest guys are 1900. Anyway, I'll catch you guys a little bit farther down the Rio Highway.
And they put the cap, seal it, and put the cap on. But now, for some reason or another, there's pain there. So I'm thinking, well, it's probably another screwed up root canal. I've had another root canal where they broke off 2 instruments inside my mouth in the bone. You know, those drills they use to actually drill out the roots? I actually had root canal where they screwed that up and left the broken off bit embedded in the jawbone, which became an issue 25 years later. And now I have another one. And you know what? The root canal for this cat tooth was done by the same company, the same root canal outfit. So I have a feeling that root canal outfit just didn't know what they were doing. So I probably have another broken off, instrument stuck in my jawbone, and now it's starting to react. It's unbelievable. It's like, the thing is, none of this stuff shows up until you're like 70 years old. I'm 68 now, right? And everything is fine for 25 years, but then everything goes to hell. Oh well, I guess that's the price you pay for being 70 years old. Well, you're just a kid. Yeah, well, you're up there, right, Bill? You're like 72, 3, something like that.
Next year, 80.
Oh, wow, you're really up there. Well, Bob, you're what, 77, Bob?
Yep, 77, yeah. And starting to feel it.
Yeah. Well, it sucks to get old. But I'll tell you what, I moved up north here because I love the snow. And I don't care, you get a toothache, whatever. I get gout attacks in my feet, my elbows, my knees. I get gout attacks everywhere. But I don't give a crap. I'm not going to move to Florida where it's warm all the time, so to speak. And I just love the snow. I look forward to it. And I don't care if I have aches and pains. I'm going to go and play in the snow. And when I can't do it anymore, well, then just bury me.
Then you can watch the snow. And, when you go to Florida, your mindset is that you're done. You're going to die.
Well, that's true. Well, they say that Florida is the waiting room for the, what's the term they use? The waiting room for the, you know what I'm saying. The waiting room for death or something like that. But I don't want to do that. I still want to go out. I want to play in the snow. And just the other day, I was tracking bear tracks in the woods, trying to see which direction the bear was going. I love that kind of stuff. So, I'm not going to go to Florida and get eaten by an alligator.
Well, that's what people go to Florida for, to die.
Well, not me. Very obvious, They either go to Florida to die, or they go to Florida to keep to avoid the law.
W1LLY. Yeah, I mean, I like Florida. I do. I like Florida. It can get very oppressive in the summertime, but in general, I like Florida. But it's very crowded, and I have learned to live without the crowds, having moved from northern New Jersey to semi-rural New York State, and now very rural northern New Hampshire. I just love to be away from the maddening crowd.
Oh, there you go. K1 KBW.
Well, Bill, you know where I live, and that's, I can't see a neighbor. I'm not that far away from a couple of them, but we talk to them maybe twice a year if we happen to see them by the side of the road. Other than that, they leave us alone, we leave them alone, everybody's happy.
Yeah, well, that's the way it should be. Well, from where I am now, you go out my front deck, you cannot see another house, period. You go in the backyard, can't see another house. My driveway is 300 feet long. Excuse me. Very isolated, and I like it that way. The only person I'm really in contact with is the neighbor who's kind of in the woods behind me. Not that they're close, she likes to walk her golden retriever down the road and use my beach. I'm right on the Ammonoosuc River, Bill. I'm up on a bluff, though, above the river, but I have riverfront property, and she likes to bring her golden retriever down on my beach, which I have completely denuded of vegetation, so that it is actually a sandy beach on the river. And so I talk to her whenever I see her walking her dog and so on and so forth. Other than that, I have no idea who the neighbors are. I know who owns the property behind me, which is part of the Ammonoosuc Trust. You know, that's trusted to the conservation organization. It's like 450 acres, something like that. But, you know, that's fine. As long as they don't bother me. I go out there, I can shoot at squirrels, I can shoot at, blue jays. Nobody gives a crap, because every day you can hear gunshots up here. You know, everybody's shooting at everything. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, as long as they're not shooting at me.
Well, is she good looking or what, Bill?
No, not really. I mean, she's an older woman. I have no idea how old she is. She's originally from Long Island. But, you know what I'm saying? She's just a neighbor who's friendly, and that's fine. And I tell her, you go on my beach anytime. And she does. I was out in the middle of the river in the middle of the summer, and dunking myself in the river. It was, like 90 degrees, and I'm dunking myself in the river. And, her dog is over there. The dog wants to come out and swim out to where I am. She wouldn't let the dog swim into the river. But, no, she's just a nice person. Nothing like you might be thinking about, Bob.
I'm just checking, Bill.
Just hoping. He was hoping for a little vicarious thing there.
No, you know what? No desire, no need. Just, it's nice to know at least who one of you. Well, the only reason I got to know her is because, I think I told you this, Bob. I had ordered a cover for my fire pit, and FedEx delivered it to their address. See, my address is 656 Wing Road. Their address is 686 Wing Road. So, between 656 and 686, I guess the FedEx driver thought, well, it's very close and whatever. He's mistaken. Anyway, he delivered my item to them, and they held on to it. They opened the box only because they thought maybe it was valuable. And, anyway, it's a long story, but I ended up getting what I needed back. And in the meantime, I've gotten deliveries for them delivered to me. So it's kind of a back and forth kind of thing. 656, 686. I guess the numbers are, for the typical FedEx driver, the numbers are quite similar. But anyway, it's nice. Up here it's very quiet. It's very peaceful. Although there was some creature in the woods night before last, screeching louder. I thought it was a woman screaming, but it had to be some kind of a creature, and I could hear it, and it woke me up, and I was considering getting out on the balcony with my really bright flashlight, but by the time I did that, the screeching had dissipated. So, yeah. No, it's quite exciting up here. There's all kinds of wild animals, wild people, and, I'm here too.
It's probably a screech owl.
It's a fisher cat.
Yeah, screech owl.
Oh, it's a fisher cat.
So I think it was probably a fisher cat because of the river. I am literally Bob. Bob knows where I am. Bob's been up here. He saw the river. I'm right on the river, but I'm up on a bluff. I'm like 40, 50 feet above the river. And there's all kind. I've got golden eagles, bald eagles. What's that other big bird? Oh crap! I can't think of the other big birds. That's very common. Really big bird that tends to nest in trees near rivers. Anyway, it's nice up here. I love it. I'm right on the edge of the White Mountains. The White Mountain National Forest is only 2 miles away. When Bobby came up here, Bobby and Bob and Rich into KB2 AM, those guys drove up here, right? Bob, I think you were with them. They all stopped and took pictures. They couldn't believe how beautiful it is up here.
Oh, the mountains and stuff, yeah. What's a Fisher cat?
Oh, no, what a Fisher cat is?
No.
Look it up. You don't want to meet one in a dark alley.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. I never heard of one before.
Yeah, they're a predator, and they can be very nasty. So you don't want to confront them. Of course, if I hear something like that, I do not step out my front door without some kind of armament.
First time I ever ran into a Fisher cat was when I lived on a lake over here. Now we have them frequently here too, because there's the Neotiquette River runs within about 70 feet of the house here. It's the back lot line of the lot that I live on is the Neotiquette River, which runs into the Great Works, which runs into Great Bay. But anyway, the long and the short of it is that we haven't seen them recently. They haven't been around for a couple of years, but for a long time they absolutely love skunks. It's one of the only things in the world that will take a skunk on. They don't give a shit what it smells like. They will eat a skunk, and there is the only thing left when a Fisher cat gets it is the toenails.
W1LLY. Yeah, Bill, I remember, your property. I remember going to the back of your property where the river drops down. The river being down below the property line and your pond and all that. You remember putting me on your is that a Kubota you have? Is that a Kubota or a Yanmar? You can tell me what brand your tractor is. Remember me digging out a tree stump? That was the first time I ever used a backhoe to dig out a tree stump. I love that.
I taught you how to use a backhoe. That was my Mahindra.
Oh yeah, the Mahindra. And I remember about that time. Isn't that when the big tree came down and knocked down your shed?
Yeah, that thing snapped off 20 feet in the air and came down horizontally. It was 47 or 46 inches in diameter. I'm sorry, in diameter. That was a pine. It was a 100-foot pine. Snapped off about 20 feet up and came down across my shed. Totally destroyed it.
Thankfully, it didn't destroy your tractor. But I remember that day I came up and you put me on the back of that Mahindra and dug up a tree stump. That was that. I had never done that before. It was quite exciting.
It's always fun when you get to do stuff like that. I had fun watching you do it.
Yeah. And remember me bringing my rototiller up there and rototilling your front lawn? You didn't have a really big front lawn or anything. I don't know how that ever turned out. Did you ever get grass to grow there?
Yeah, that's pretty decent actually. But it's a funny thing, Bill. I really have a hard time growing grass here because we got so many trees. I've got all these 100-foot pines all around me, which is wonderful for stringing up antennas, but it's not very good for growing grass.
Yeah, too much shade. Yeah. Well, I've gotten to the point up here now where the 100-foot pine trees, I don't even bother. I mean, I've gotten the grass to grow, but I don't do anything drastic. I ordered the Starlink equipment, the beta equipment for Starlink, but the app told me once I had the Starlink equipment that I had too many tall trees to use Starlink. That's the satellite constellation for internet, high-speed internet access. And so I sent it all back, and they refunded all my money, which is a good thing, because you know what I pay now for internet access? I pay $23 a month, direct over-the-air internet access, because I can see the cell tower. It's on a mountain just on the other side of downtown Bethlehem. I actually have line of sight to the cell tower, and I have a modem that can convert that to internet access. It's great. $23 a month, and I get unlimited data, unlimited internet access. It's better than I ever had it, even in New York State, where I had Comcast, or in Somersworth, where I was paying like almost $200 a month for internet and TV. Now I pay $23 a month. You can't beat it.
What kind of a baud rate are you getting with that?
Well, I don't know what the baud rate is, but the average throughput is between 30 and 75 megabits per second. It's quite fast. Don't forget, it's literally line of sight, and I have two direct, two Yagi antennas pointed directly at the cell tower. So I have, I guess, what would you say, full board, full quieting signal. I don't remember what the dB level is, but it's like I have, perfect signal. I literally can see the cell tower from here. This is through AT&T. So for what I do, it's perfect.
No, I'm not. I tried it, and I had AT&T at the time, and I tried it here, and I literally couldn't see. I couldn't see it because I had trees in the way, but it was next to line of sight. Other than the fact that there's all these pine trees around here, but the damn tower was, within a half a mile of the house. I didn't have that good of luck with it. But then again, I didn't have any directional antennas on it either. So, but I'm doing something else now, which I think I'm paying around $50 a month, which is, hey, that's what it is. And I'm getting something around 140, for an average rate, which is more than I need. Because again, like you, the hell do I need it for? It's not a big deal for me. Anyhow, so much for that. I'm starting to run out of spit here, so I'm gonna back off a little bit. I'll get up that way eventually. We just completed a installation up in North Conway. We got to go up there and get some photographs of it. If you're familiar with North Conway, the big shopping mall there, what the hell do they call it? Settlers Green. Right behind it is a big hotel. It used to be a Sheraton, now it's something else. I forget what they call it. The Inn at Settlers Green or some silly thing like that. We just put this huge cupola on top of it, and they put it up the day before Thanksgiving. But we built that over in Windham at our shop. And it's all fiberglass, and it's chock full of cell phone antennas.
What are you doing these days, Bill? I remember you were involved with Bob up there in Maine. Of course, this is going back quite a few years. I think that whole thing kind of fell apart with that communications thing, the communications between different agencies. I don't remember Bob's call sign. Obviously, I would assume, obviously, you remember who I'm talking about, Bob up there with you know, he had those big military vehicles, and he had that lab and stuff like that. I think that whole thing kind of probably fell apart. But wonder what you're doing now. I'm totally retired now. I think I mentioned last night that, you know, Rite Aid, who I was doing field service for, they laid us all off 2 years ago. So I've been totally retired for 2 years, which suits me fine. But it sounds like you're still working. Why? I don't know. Why are you still working at your age? But fill me in. What is it that you're doing? And what was, I remember Bob, I don't remember his call sign up there, but I remember going up to his lab and so on and so forth, and you guys were working on that communications compatibility system, and you know, you had tentative contracts. I don't remember if it was Loudoun County or Fairfax County in Virginia, you know, so on and so forth. You know, that's quite a while ago, but, you know, whatever happened with that stuff, and what are you doing nowadays?
That was Loudoun County, and that was Bob Stone. I'm trying to remember what the hell his call was. It was N1 something or other. Anyway, no, Bob sold out. The whole thing crashed. Very messy and all that other kind of crap. It probably would have been fine had we not gotten, I won't go into it. It doesn't really matter. It wasn't Bob's fault. You know, it was one of those things where we got investors involved, and the investors got sticking their fingers in it, and they didn't know what the hell they were. They didn't have any idea what was going on, and you know, they thought they knew more than we did. Anyway, the upshot of it is that it got destroyed by the investors, basically. And then they all cried, lost money. Of course they lost money, the idiots. But anyway, so much for that. I went over and I got involved with N1PS in the cell site concealment business. And he screwed that company up several years. When he lost that, the courts basically, when it was basically taken away from him by the state, the courts, and the creditors, and everybody else, he owed me a bunch of money, and he owed the guy who ran the shop foreman, a bunch of money. And we basically converted our claim into assuming the assets and none of the liabilities of the company. We dumped the old company's name and everything else, simply took the equipment and the assets, moved it to another spot, started a new company, which is now called Coast to Coast Composites. And you can look that up on the internet. We've got a web page. It's nothing fancy, but it does tell you what we do. We build fiberglass structures, very elaborate, actually very elaborate, architecturally correct fiberglass structures that go on buildings, rooftops, and so on and so forth to conceal cell sites. So we've got them all over the top of Boston College. I've got them in Jersey. I've got them down all over the place in New York, New Jersey. I've got them up. One we just did in West Conway. I've got a couple going into Melrose, Massachusetts here next month. So basically, we're delivering 1 or 2 of those a month, and they're big enough that. You know, we've got a nice, compact little business. The problem with it is that it's all subject to the will or the whims of the cell companies. And what they're doing, every time they go through one of these acquisitions or something like that, everything stops. And so then you have to be able to pull in your purse strings and your pants belt and everything else, and go through the 2 months it takes them to figure out what they're doing next, and then it all starts all over again, and away we go again. So it's that's how it is. That's how it is. So I don't have anything up in your neck of the woods. They don't bother to try to hide them up there. And of course, it has nothing to do with towers. We don't do any towers. Well, we do, but not in the same sense that you would think. But we do a lot of, they call it concealment. And it's basically, the whole idea is that you take those ugly cell phone antennas, well, down Bob's area there, my God, we got them all over the coast down there. You know, so, but we sell them basically to the people that contract to the cell companies, the big cell carriers, to put up their sites. And we sell them the concealment. But what it gets involved is that we have to go and actually match the brick pattern of the building and all that kind of thing so that you can't tell that it isn't part of the original building. Hey, buen dia.
Yeah, W1LLY. Well, you know, I've seen various concealment types of issues. You know, the ones over in Vermont. When I drive south down to New York, down Interstate 91, you know, you see those cell towers that are, you know, made to look like pine trees, but yet they don't look like pine trees. You know, it's so fake that for anyone who's actually looking, you can spot them a mile away, and literally, you know, 30 and 40 miles away, because they're on mountaintops. So, yeah. Well, you know, it's kind of weird because, you know, if you take people and you ask them, well, what do you want when it comes to, you know, your cell phone? You want good coverage? Oh, yeah, I want 100%. Yeah, I want 100% coverage. I want to be, no matter where I am, I want to be able to talk on my cell phone. And then you ask them, well, do you want the cell phone tower to be in your backyard? Oh, no, that's unacceptable. You know, it's like, it's retarded. Because everybody wants to have 100% cell phone coverage, but yet they don't want the antennas in their backyard. And they don't understand that, you know, the average cell phone installation is not operating at super high power or anything like that. There we go. I had to rearrange my feet on the foot switch. You know what I'm saying? It's like people want full coverage, but yet they don't want the antenna in my backyard. You know that term, in my backyard. But if they don't have coverage, then they complain to the cell company. So it's kind of a catch-22. You know, you either have coverage or you don't. And most people want coverage, but they don't want the antenna anywhere near where they could see it. It's so stupid. I mean, it really is stupid because people don't understand that all cell phone is just two-way radio communication, and the local police, the local sheriff, the local whatever, they're all transmitting on frequencies at probably a lot higher power than cell phones are, but for some reason, cell phone towers, oh no, we don't want that in our backyard. But yet when they don't have coverage, they complain also. Oh, I don't have coverage. When I come home, I don't have coverage. So you can't win. So anyway, hopefully you guys are figuring out how to give people coverage and keep it discreet. You know, which is kind of silly. You know, it's like, it is what it is. Hey, it takes antennas for radios to work. Okay, we'll disguise it. I guess hams get involved in that too, like when they move into, you know, speaking of Florida earlier, you know, people move to Florida, we move into an HOA, you know, and you can't have any kind of antenna. Well, you sneak an antenna, you clip onto the gutters. It's so silly. Anyway, I know where you're coming from. Anyway, I guess Bob's kind of quiet lately. Don't know if anybody else is joining. I'm actually kind of getting tired here. What time is it? Oh, it's only 8 o'clock at night. I should have Tucker on, but I was up kind of early this morning. I was outside for a while, and I was on the phone a lot today, unfortunately. Because I considered telephone conversation just kind of like an excess waste of time. Even though, you're talking to people you like, whatever. But, you could spend a couple hours on the phone. But in the meantime, nothing gets accomplished. And I had stuff I wanted to get accomplished. But I put all that off till tomorrow.